Welcome to Urban Legends with your hosts, Smartwatch, Neil and Chris, and Omas. Lucas Speaker.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Urban Legends, the hit podcast looking at different urban legends, myths, monsters, and all kinds of other paraphernalia around the occult or the Fortean from the internet. It is the largest urban legends podcast by volume, and this is our penultimate episode of the series. And I am one of your hosts, Mr. Christopher Flynn, and with me, as always, is my Belvedere, Mr.
Neil Herbert.
I don't know, is that a thing, a Belvedere?
A good liver? I'm not sure.
Good liver. You certainly are my good liver, Neil.
Yeah.
Which says very little for the state of my liver.
Yes.
So how's your week been, Neil? Have you, has anything caught your eyes?
It's been a remarkably unremarkable week, actually, Chris. Sorry, that's not a good way to start a podcast. But
it's not really.
Hey, the sun, weather's improving. There you go. British tackle about the
weather.
I
went for a nice walk around the local park yesterday.
Stopped raining for a bit, that's all right.
Yeah, walked round. I got myself an iced latte because I'm a fancy boy. And then came home and played computer games on my laptop. That's enough. That's enough of the outside for me. That's what I said.
Yeah, I've mostly work related, so I don't really want to talk about that. But
no, you can't talk about it. You're not allowed to, are you?
No.
Official
secrets, that, Chris.
Official secrets.
Yeah, I've never had a nice coffee.
You've never had a nice coffee?
Never had a nice coffee. Yeah.
You've never had a nice coffee. Why is that? Are you scared of them?
Yeah, terrified.
Is it a religious thing? Have you just not have you never?
If you're Catholic, you can't. Yeah, Jesus didn't have iced coffee, so you can't. Yeah.
No, you're not allowed meat on Fridays or iced coffees. Full stop.
It's
because
not a coffee.
The Venetians.
I don't know. I just like coffee's more of a morning drink for me. I don't think of it as like a refreshing kind of like. Oh, it's a nice hot summer today. I don't know. Maybe it'd be good.
Yeah, I can certainly recommend it. It was very nice. Do you know what? Like, because I've been on the coffee already, and I wasn't at the stage where I was ready to come off the coffee at that point.
Yeah, okay.
If you know what I mean. Like I have
a bit of a caffeine injection, but it's refreshing.
Well, because I drink too much coffee. Like I need to.
I've cut down.
Massive. Yeah, I need to cut down. Like the other day, I sort of cane coffee from the moment I get up until maybe 4 or 5. Like, because I really enjoy it, but I don't know whether it's because I stopped boozing that therefore I've just replaced it with another stimulant.
Yeah,
but chain smoking and drinking coffee.
I used to have free coffee at work. I used to have about 14 or 15 cups a day and vibrate around the office. But yeah, it wasn't particularly great. I don't think.
I got up like quite quickly, like having drunk quite a lot of coffee the other day, and then suddenly felt a bit like I was outside my body, sort of unsteady on my feet, almost like a head rush or something.
Nice.
And obviously, I've not had that since I was drunk. So I was like, here we are. I've missed this feeling of I've missed this feeling of disentanglement with reality. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was good. There you go. So you don't have to drink. You could just do you could just do ridiculous amounts of other things. Yeah, hyperventilate yourself, take poppers, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, really. So this is our penultimate.
It is,
penultimate one of the season. People notice it's 25. Last season we only did 24 because of reasons.
We're cracky like that. Cracky like that? Wacky like that?
We are wacky.
It's like crazy and wacky. I've decided to mush them into
cracky.
Another demonstration of the crackiness of this podcast.
Whoa-hey.
Just making up words off the face of it.
It was pretty good.
Not just because I can't pronounce. Brain's dying rapidly.
So this is episode 25 of the series, but it's our penultimate. Next week we're doing because it's our 100th episode, party time, people. So we're going to do a big one for once, like one that people will have heard of, and it might end up being a double-parter. And then after that,
Who
then we'll
knows?
be having a couple of weeks break until the new series, but we will be putting out our annual mailbag episode,
Yeah.
which sits upon the fence with reality and dreams on either side of it. If you want to give us a like or subscribe or comment and stuff, I'm gonna keep saying this stuff, but I know you don't listen.
Well,
but
you
it's
could
fun.
get in that mailbag, couldn't you, listener?
Yeah,
Imagine that snug in there.
Toasty. Gonna pop you inside. If you do want to be in a mailbag episode at any point or just have any comments, just herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com. I know you won't. Now, I think that's all the admin stuff done, Neil.
Yes, housekeeping taken care of. Good.
Housekeeping.
Let's take that one off the agenda, right?
So if you want to give us feedback on if you liked or didn't like the bits which we used to do, making up sort of crazy backgrounds for us. We've just stopped doing it for now, but we might bring it back. But
got bored of it. Maybe we'll do it again in the future. Who knows?
Really, we're just trying to provoke any kind of reaction from anyone listening. Because at the moment, we assume you're all bots. Yeah. So, Neil...
Got no evidence to the contrary.
Got literally no evidence to the contrary. Neil, so I believe that you've come up with one this week. You were quite excited by it, were you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's got... Having just read through, my excitement might have diminished slightly.
Oh no,
it's it's all right actually. It's so I was just looking for sort of like curses and stuff. I don't know why that was my little Google.
Was that to do with the podcast or just your own personal use?
Yeah, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies.
Who's upset you this time, Neil?
Never you mind.
Is it me again?
Oh, don't worry. The curses on you
are bulletproof.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they can't get any thicker and faster.
Well, I'll tell you what, Neil. I can confirm they are working. They are absolutely working.
Yeah.
They're working probably better than you could have imagined.
Like Fletch, they're working overtime. There you go, as an obscure 80s reference.
In your darkest of dreams, they're working even better. Yeah.
So no, it wasn't to do with that.
Not much for Christmas in this house, I'll tell you that much.
Tiny Tim's gone to his grave.
Yeah. Lucky him.
Yeah. Sweet, sweet release of death.
Yeah. Better than living with his fucking curses.
So, talking of curses, we're going to talk today about a painting of a... Well, I don't know what we're going to call this, actually, isn't it? So, then we got the Form of an Unknown Legend, and it ties in the Murdoch media with some really shitty art and the 80s, which everything was something in the 80s. People like that, the 80s, don't they? Like Stranger Things and all of these, because they don't remember what the 80s was like.
Yeah, have you seen that He-Man cosplay's back in, of course? It's big, isn't it? Constantly seeing people walking down the road dressed as characters from He-Man.
Yeah. What would you choose to be? I think I'd probably do Man-at-Arms. He was a
Man-at-Arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've shaved, but you did have the beard, didn't you?
I did have the, yeah.
Oh, he's just got a tash, hasn't he?
Oh, that's true, yeah. Got a big old sort of...
You could do that, though, couldn't you?
Could do if pushed to it, yeah.
You're a hairy boy, aren't you?
Yeah. Got hair to spare.
Hairy little fella.
Yeah.
Like a triple? Yeah, that would do.
What would you go as Squealy Cat? Wherever who's got
Squealy Cat?
I can't remember. I can only remember Man-O-War and Manny Faces because I think we had the toys when I was a kid.
Well, obviously
there's Prince Valiant or whatever his name was.
Well, obviously because of my looks and physique,
you fancy yourself as a
He-Man. You would imagine He-Man, wouldn't you? But I think that my favourite one was always Moss Man.
Okay.
The woodland godsman who could camouflage himself into the woods. And the reason was because I had the toy of it and it was covered in like felt. And
nice.
And it smelt really sort of pleasing as a kid. So yeah, that's how I used to pick my favourites.
I had you pegged as more of a Fisto man, but
that's something I told you.
Mechanical.
That's something I told you off air. And
yeah. Okay.
And don't know, in secrecy.
Can't remember any of it. Who were the bad guys? There was Skeletor. Was it Skeletor?
Yeah,
it was
Skeletor, Beast Man.
Okay.
Was
Was Moss Man a bad guy or a good guy?
No, he was a good guy.
He was a good
Of course
guy.
he was. Nature's good.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
There was the Fisto had a sort of Japanese same character called Jujitsu, who had a big golden chopping hand instead of a big iron punching hand. Because as we know, Oriental martial arts are on the side of evil, whereas punching someone, good Western,
good honest, yeah,
all martial no art, isn't it?
Queensberry rules, isn't it?
Exactly. There was loads. There was the one, the millipede. There was the witch. Can't remember what her name was.
I can't remember. Was there like a little floating hat fella?
There was
Orko.
Orko, yeah.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't good or bad. He was.
Was he just an agent of chaos?
He was an agent of chaos. Yeah, he was mysterious.
Yeah.
He was. He was the only voice. He was the only nuanced character in there.
Yeah.
He had PTSD from an intergalactic war.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went into it all in the reboot, probably.
I'm sure they did. And everyone had a good time. Well, anyway, I have not seen the reboot, but I like the fact that it's made some appalling sounding people quite angry. That's all. I do like when 40-year-old men have opinions about a children's cartoon.
Why is this about Why is this about Teela?
Ruining my childhood. Really?
Just don't watch it, mate.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably watch something for adults. Maybe.
Who was it who sort of produced and wrote that? It was
Kevin Smith.
That's it, Kevin Smith. Yeah,
yeah.
Clerks and stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into it,
the Peter Pan of films, the man who never grew up.
I mean, I did really like Clerks back in the day. I've not watched it for years, but it was, a very good debut, and some of his other stuff was all right. But yeah, I have to confess, he's quite overwritten, and I've not really kept up with the new stuff.
I mean, they're sort of fine for what they are, but I don't think that Jay and Silent Bob were strong enough characters to do 5 films on.
No. Well, it's the whole thing as well. It's like, oh, look, it's Silent Bob, but then he speaks at the end and he has a little speech. It's like, well, yeah, that's funny once. Can't keep doing it every time.
Oh, and he's actually really intelligent.
Yeah.
Speaking of intelligent, Neil, what are we looking at?
Yeah, should we move on? Because actually we're just talking about fucking He-Man.
Yeah. Well.
Right. Anyway, so this is the Curse of the Crying Boy painting, I'm going to say.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to name it. So this is from Atlas Obscura, our article, and it's so we have.
Do you know what? This is a really snappy title for a podcast episode.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? This will get
the Crying Boy painting.
This will get everyone.
Got it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So finishing the series on a high.
It's only the penultimate one. This is just the taster as we get through to the final one. So, a painting of a crying boy was blamed for a series of fires in the 80s. Is our headline.
Pyro crying boy.
Yeah. The artwork, said UK tabloids at the time, was haunted.
Oh.
Yeah, because we know that the Murdoch press is definitely.
Well, to claim stuff was that more prevalent in the 80s? Because I know, like in the 40s or something, or the 1800s,
spiritualism was really kind of like. I mean, yeah, from.
But I mean, you wouldn't find like in a copy of The Sun now someone claiming something was haunted. That's complete. That side of things is completely gone now.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. I don't know. I mean, you'd find some other fiction, wouldn't you? But
but paranormal stuff's out the window.
I mean, I think bear in mind because it was still like it's kind of the market leader, and it's kind of got that grip now, hasn't it? Or maybe it had to be a bit more, spurious and sensationalist to try and build up the reach of. I mean, by the 80s, I think it was probably already dominating the market.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was probably like probably still had a bit of a fight between that and the Mirror and what have you. I don't know if it. Yeah, there used to be a lot more
News of the World.
There used to be. Yeah, the News of the World was a Sunday version, wasn't it? But actually, that goes back way back. But Yeah, obviously when it was all bought up. I don't think it's the sort of stories that they come up today. So yeah, that is quite interesting.
I'm just wondering when the cut-off point was where they went, do you know what? Ghosts just ain't doing it no more.
I think when the Sunday Sports started just doing stories about
soft porn.
Yeah, well, just lots of soft porn and stories about, like, my son has been kidnapped and turned into a fish finger.
Mm.
I don't know if you ever saw that documentary in around 2000, but it was quite amusing. So they did an actually identity parade. So this woman claimed this woman claims that her son's been into a fish finger. He goes, right, what will you do? They go down to Iceland, get a pack of 10 and do an identity parade. And then if she picks the right one, we'll run with the story.
And she did?
Yeah, she did, and they did. Fair enough.
Who would change him into a fish finger?
Well, supposedly it was like he was taken up by an alien, a UFO or something.
Oh, right.
And then there was some beam of light, and then it came back down, and it was just like a fish finger was left.
So it was a UFO trick.
Yeah.
The
UFO beamed up her son, turned him into a fish finger, and beamed him back down again.
Maybe
Didn't
the
know
UFO
what to do, so she kept him in the freezer. Apparently,
maybe the UFO just thought it was a fair trade.
Yeah.
There you go. I take
here. This cod's quite pricey.
You man, I take boy now. Here, have fish stick.
Battered cod for you. Tasty.
We must go back to beyond the moon. Goodbye, human.
Have to wonder whether they just grossly undervalued the value of human life or overestimated the value of cod. Who knows?
Or the opposite.
Yeah.
Maybe to them, they overestimated the value of human life. Who knows, 1,000 years in the future, Neil. Well, I say 1,000, 10 years in the future, Neil, there'll be no fish left in the sea because of overfishing, will there? So
that's true. Yeah.
Probably it will be a boy will be worth that of a fish finger.
Yeah.
That's why I'm stockpiling.
Yeah, just getting that free.
Got a lock up, got a load of chest freezers in it.
Your frozen gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Just invest heavily in fish fingers, everyone. You heard it here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forget NFTs and crypto, guys.
Yeah.
Get yourself on the Captain Birdseye gold train.
I mean, to be fair, it's probably about as good a speculation as going into
bad,
crypto these days.
Better. No, it's better. I think it'll hold its value.
Yeah, at least. Right. Okay. Anyway.
Well, and you can eat it because it's physically real.
Well, that's true. You do actually have that. It's not just a digital thing. Yeah.
I very much.
I mean, there's no reason why that
I've very much
that
gone
fish
down.
couldn't be connected to the blockchain. Now, think about it.
I've very much gone down the sovereign citizen route of like wanting everything in gold because it's real and you can feel it. But I want everything in frozen seafood because worst comes to worst, I've got some frozen seafood. Do you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Can't eat a block of gold, can you? Well, you could, but
no, you can't.
Nutritional value.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Not many vitamins in gold.
Mind you, come back out the same. The other end, so you still, you literally have your gold and eat it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is the one.
I don't know if I fancy panning for gold in my own excrement.
I don't know until you tried
it. Not again. Fool me once, Neil, more fool me. Fool me twice, Neil, more fool me again. Fool me the 100th time, more fool you.
Yeah. That's the same. I think George W. Bush coined that one. Right.
Are you sure those aren't just bits of nuts? No, Chris, carry on. Have a good look.
So, in the middle of the night in Thatcher...
Lost my deposit on that place. So, Thatcher, my ears have pricked up.
Yes.
Body and the brains. Who wouldn't?
In the middle of the night in Thatcher, England, a home in South Yorkshire succumbed to a fire. The lounge room was charred black, drapes and furniture reduced to ash. The owners of the home, Ron and May Hall, lost nearly everything to the blaze except one item. A painting of a crying boy.
When I was in primary school, there was a kid of South Asian descent whose name was May Hall. So I didn't know, is he living with Ron now?
I mean...
Ron and May Hall are living together.
Was he married to Ron in the early to mid-80s? I'd suggest probably not.
No, we were probably in nursery at the time.
I think the Sun story would have been slightly had a different focus.
I think the Sun story. I think this is a story that would have been hushed up.
Yeah, if it had been printed at all. So no, Ronald Mayhall lost nearly everything to the blaze except one item: a painting of a crying boy, his wide eyes looking out from the wreckage and not even blackened by smoke. And this wasn't the first time a picture of a crying boy had been found amid the torches and the ashes of a torched home.
Oh.
So, September 4th, 1985, British tabloid The Sun. So, for those who don't know this, it's one of our... Why is it? It's one of our worst. It's the Murdoch.
It's not one of our worst.
Yeah, it does go lower, sadly. Probably the Express is beneath it. It's on a par with
Mail, to be honest. The worst.
It probably wasn't much of a muchness for me, to be honest with you.
But yeah, this is Murdoch.
Yeah. So, September the 4th, 1985, British tabloid The Sun published Blazing Curse, the Crying Boy Picture, a story about a very unlucky painting, or cursed, that caused fires, supported by the comments of a local fire station officer.
Oh, unnamed.
Yeah, turns out. These paintings, the firefighter said, turned up mysteriously unscathed in fires across the UK.
Oh, right. So it's not the same painting that's been handed down and there's been a fire every time. It's
no.
So is it copies
that would be an interesting story.
Maybe
just one painting that went from house to house, then burned down. I mean, they have a lot more credence to it. No, they're kind of like this was like a mass produced.
So it's copies of the same painting.
Well, not necessarily. So apparently there was a trend between the 50s and the 70s leading into the 80s. Well, I mean, you look at these pictures. So, by all means, listen, have a look on Atlas Obscura if you got your phone or whatever. And they're kind of like really naff. But apparently they were really big in like the 70s and 80s. So it would be a picture of just like a child crying in a corner. I mean, let me just share this with you, Chris. Yeah, because you think, well, who wouldn't hang that in their living room?
Well, I mean, if you've beaten your own child to death,
it does make you worry about the kind of parents who are.
You'd want a picture of a crying child there because it's really
class those little actions.
Really ties the room together. Really ties the murder room together.
So I've just sent you the link, Chris. If you want to go and have a look and give me your opinion of that. I mean, it's got kind of like a sort of. It's technically not unaccomplished. It's got kind of chiaroscuro and stuff. It's
you, Brian Sewell. I suppose technically,
it's just really awful.
It looks like Kate Beckinsale's dad.
Oh, blimey, Richard Beckinsale.
Richard Beckinsale, yeah, it looks like him, doesn't it? Crying.
Yeah, a little page boy haircut, and then it's like basically it's a little kid, and it looks like.
For people who don't know, Kate Beckinsale, the actress, Hollywood's now actress, her dad was quite a famous actor who died young in the UK.
Yeah,
most famous
70s sitcoms. I think Rising Damp and Porridge were the two biggest ones.
He wasn't in Rising Damp.
Oh, I'm going to dispute that. Let's look that up.
Okay, maybe he was. I'll back down instantly.
See how the only things I can never be bothered to actually Google are when that's the.
When you think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard Beckinsale.
Yeah, I said that.
He was the...
he was the other lodger.
He was the other lodger.
I remember
and then
that,
you had Don Warrington, of course, was the other neighbour.
Yeah, it looks very much like him. So if you want to find it on Atlas Obscura, if you want to see what Kate Beckinsale's looked like, then
you can look from an IMDb.
The article is just called Crying Boy Painting Fires.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to want to have in your house, Neil.
That's my thought. It's kind of like it's really it's the episode whatever of the 80s were a different time.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So picture that in your mind, listeners. It's
got like a torn shirt as well.
Yeah, there's like the arm torn. So obviously it's meant to be like some little street urchin or whatever. But looks a bit like Richard Beckinsale. And it's just got like two big tears rolling down its cheeks from big sort of eyes.
Mm.
Yeah. So, that's
that's hot. I don't want to look at that anymore, actually.
No.
That's enough of that.
If anything, you'd probably want to throw that onto the fire, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that'd be the thing that burn.
Yeah. So these are, so it's well known.
What a horrible country this is now.
Yeah. The more you dig into it, the worse.
Yeah, the more you dig into it. Yeah.
So these paintings, a firefighter said, turned up mysteriously unscathed in fires across the UK, all of which started spontaneously. It was well known he would never think of owning this cursed painting himself.
Mm.
And then apparently it said the couple had laughed off warnings that their painting was cursed, wrote the Sun. Let all others heed the warning and get rid of their own giant paintings of crying children immediately.
What do you think? A little bit. What do you think? Worry about my home burning down is going to stop me having this gorgeous picture of an abused boy
Thing on wall next to ducks flying up. Madeira railing.
Do you know what? I would rather a house burned down
this is the modern
than live
world
in
of 1984.
than live
suspicious claptrap.
than live in. I'd rather burn a house down than have to live without a picture of an abused boy over my mantelpiece. Curse be damned. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. And there we go. Yeah. If the fact
what's going on in the person's head who painted it? Well, I guess that maybe it's like trying to say, look at the children, like look at some children are suffering and that kind of thing. But I doubt they thought that it would become like a hot ticket item.
Well, no, it's sort of. This is the thing: is the person who was producing the paintings. There seems to be a real mystery about the original painter as well. So we'll get into that.
Well,
there's a lot of facets. It's like an onion. This story, Chris. As I said, it's quite promising.
It's like a story from the onion.
There's layers. Yeah, it could well be. Because again, we're going to learn more about the 80s, listener.
Sorry, just to say, I'm eating a fair trade mint. So sorry if I'm making noises.
No reason because we're recording a podcast to stop you shoving something in your gut, Chris, is there?
Well, I feel like
professionalism you can expect.
I feel like I jump in too much, so I'm using this.
It's not helped, has it? Let's be honest.
To pacify myself.
Yeah. We should literally get you what the Americans call a pacifier, or a dummy, as we call it in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Or simply sew my mouth shut.
Yeah, that's either works for me.
That's been threatened to me a few times.
No, I was just going to say, actually, I just remembered I was sitting at the bus stop the other day. I don't know if this is...
Having a few drinks.
Yeah. Blind drunk, vomiting all over the lady next to me. No, I'm just sitting there, sort of waiting for the bus. And then this kid...
You're local?
Yeah, just, he was actually opposite the... it's called the Grand Central and that other awful pub.
Yeah.
Engine room or something. Actually, it's probably a lot better than it used to be now. I've not been in. It used to be pretty awful, but I don't know. The clientele's pretty better these days. Don't mean that in a really snobby way, by the way. It's just they used to have quite a lot of supposedly, very far right people used to drink. Anyway, so yeah, there's this mother sort of pushing her pram, and there's a kid who coming up to sort of like shoulder height on it. He had one of these dummies in his mouth, and he's walking. That seems remarkably like he must have been
get him off the fags.
Do you reckon that's what it was?
Yeah, get him off the fags.
No, I was thinking kind of like, surely, kids past 2 or 3, they stop using a dummy. And he was walking by himself, and it's like, he must have been 4 or 5. I mean, he was up to his mother's shoulder.
It's for weaning, isn't it? It's to get you off the tits.
Yeah. Well, just because children go through, I think, like an oral fixation phase, but it's kind of,
Still there, Neil. I'm still there.
No, but do you know what I mean? It seemed remarkably old. I didn't know whether that was. I was just sort of like, is that weird or is that just me? I didn't.
No, it is
like
weird.
To be judgmental. That just seemed a bit odd to me. It's like say he's walking by himself up to his mother's shoulder, and actually he must have been at least say 5 or 6, really. But anyway,
it's quite old.
Yeah, it seemed a bit
parenting these days, Neil. Huh?
Well, I don't want to cast aspersions. I don't know anything about it, but yeah. Anyway,
could it have been one of those ones which the teat part of it was actually a candy?
Do you know what? Maybe that was it. Maybe it was
sweet.
Again, he kind of like, he wasn't like he was. Yeah, I don't know. He had
could have been
in his mouth. Just
could have been a sweet.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
That's a potential explanation for my mystery of the week.
There we go. And that's the episode. So.
There you go. That was the child too old for dummies. No, it's probably just
a sweet,
probably just
novelty sweet.
Yeah. We were gone through. Yeah, we've gone through the sort of firefighter. Says well known. He said he would never think of owning a curse painting himself. A couple after warnings. Yada yada yada. Well, no, here we go. Yeah, if the fact that paintings of crying kids were hung in their living rooms of multiple households makes you double take, you're not alone.
Mm.
The paintings, an odd relic of mass-printed art, were readily available in stores during the 50s to the 70s and tended to appeal to young couples.
What?
Again, who knows? While the paintings have not been reprinted for decades, their bizarre subject matter and backstory have kept the legend going, from copy-pasted internet legends to books of local lore. So anyway, yeah, apparently it was a big thing back in the day. You don't really see it anymore. That's with so many other things. The legend of the Crying Boy painting seems to have begun with the sun, fueled by the obscurity of the Crying Boy painting's artist. The artworks bear the prominent signature of one Giovanni Bragolin, but for quite some time nobody could find any information about the man. Rumours abounded. He painted hundreds of crying children, many of them street urchins. Yeah, again, very odd. It was said. Well, it was said again. Maybe that was just a rumour.
Paint what you like.
Yeah, to be fair. Hey, paint what you know.
Exactly.
Crying kid. Yeah, it's a red flag, but Rumours about so he was either in Italy or Spain. Finally, in 2000, a book of creepy stories called Haunted Liverpool claimed that in 1995, a well-respected schoolteacher called George Mallory had discovered the painting was actually a mysterious figure named Franco Seville.
Franco Seville?
That sounds like an Austin Powers character, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'm pronouncing that right, Franco Seville.
Not just Franco.
No, it's Farnchot. So I'm assuming that's pronounced Franco. And then, and then Seville, like the Spanish town.
City.
Or city, excuse me, yeah. Franco Sevilla, maybe, I don't know.
Sevilla.
So, yeah, I don't know if that's like a Spanish or French name. But, so the following backstory from 2000 seems to be a mashup of reportage from the son of Mallory. One of the urchins he painted was a boy named Dan Bonillo, who accidentally started a fire in which his parents died in Spain.
From
then on, whenever the boy went, a fire followed, prompting his nickname, Diablo. That's young Diablo.
Hey, it's the author Diablo.
Don't burn down my house. So some believe the boy was adopted against the will of a priest and was abused by the painter. In the 1970s, the boy was consumed by fire as well in an explosion caused by a car accident. He was still a boy at this point, even though they've been making paintings of him since the 50s. None of this makes any sense.
Yeah, it just never grew up. It's like Michael Jackson.
Still a boy at heart. Corey Feldman or something. Yeah. So next we've got a picture of.
So what? So this painting is meant to be of this boy Franco Sevilla, whose parents died in a fire, but he then was moved around a bit, and there was always fire, so he was probably a bit of a pyromaniac. Then,
just like fire.
Then he was against the will of a priest who presumably ran a Catholic orphanage. He was adopted by an abusive painter who is the one who painted him, I would guess.
I think this is what they're trying to say. I think we're thoroughly into
and he ended up dying in a car. He ended up dying
in fire, but that was an explosion caused by a car accident.
So he wasn't necessarily in the car. The exposure was caused by a car, so it could have been ploughed into a petrol tanker.
Exactly.
And he was
just standing by a petrol tanker, and in the most 80s thing possible.
Or the car drove over an IED.
Yeah, could be.
Which he had set himself because clearly the fires were following him round.
Exactly.
He
dropped his IED out of his pocket. The car went over, exploded, and then he got perished in the flames. So,
whoopsie doodle.
In many ways, he kind of brought it on himself.
Good. So I'm glad we're back to victim blaming.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Firmly and thoroughly. Well, I think he's made up, and I think that's very much going into the embellishment side of things, where it's none of this is substantiated, obviously, but it's all kind of like brings to the background as to why it might be cursed by fire. Or
what I can let you know is Francio is a real first name. There's a footballer with that first name, and Seville is definitely a city that exists because I've been there.
Yeah.
So those are two things in the plus like tick there, no, for the believability.
For believability, obviously, yeah.
There is nothing about Francio Seville on the internet, though.
Painter, no.
No, there's Francio Franco, but that's it.
No, don't know. Yeah, no, they got a picture of the article in the Sun. Crying boy curse strikes again. Bruno damaged his family's home burns, and it's got these parents holding their kids outside of a burnt-out house and putting the painting in front of them. Imagine.
I could only say one thing.
Well, I could just think that the photographer just being like, just hold the painting up.
Yeah. I brought this painting with me. Do you mind holding it up?
Are we getting paid for this?
Yes, 200 quid.
Maybe.
200 quid if you hold the painting up.
So, according to journalist David Clark, who researched the Crying Boy legend for 14 times, and on his website, the legend has more than a few holes. Oh dear. Giovanni Bragolin and Seville seem to have been one of a few pseudonyms for a Spanish painter called Bruno Amadio. Okay, well, I think that's a problem. And Clark could not find evidence that George Mallory nor Don Bonillo ever existed. So I'm not sure. I think George Mallory was the art expert and Don Bonillo was the kid. So
I've just typed in Bruno Amadio into the internet searches, and it comes up with Giovanni Bragolin, and there are just pictures of crying boys.
Yeah,
that's the images.
Apparently, that was his
thing. What was his problem?
So
they're sometimes called gypsy boys, although there's nothing specifically linking them to Romany people.
So Amadio likely painted 20
Venetian.
Okay. He likely painted 20 to 30 of these crying boys after training in Venice after World War II. Prints of which were sold in department stores throughout the 70s, wrote Clark. Another artist then.
Oh, hi there. Hi. Me and my new wife have just got ourselves one of these new builds after the war.
2 up, 2 down. Like
two
some
up,
art
2
to go in there.
Yeah, it's a new town.
New town boy.
New town called Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
We want to put, we're not squares like our old mum and dad. We'd like to put some really nice artwork up. What do you have? Well, we've got over 20 different crying boys. Whoa. Well, and where are they from? They're Italian. That'll do me. I've heard of spaghetti.
Nice. You get a discount if you get a set of whole 20. Hang one in every room, on every wall. Terrifying symphony of crying boys.
So wherever you are, there are crying boys' eyes following you.
Never more than a metre from a crying. A house of the future. And apparently another artist, a lady called Anna Zinkaisen.
We all thought it was going to be hoverboards, but it turned out it was crying boys all the way.
Pseudo-Renaissance paintings of crying children. Didn't see that in Tomorrow's World.
And Breville's.
Yeah. And those fucking teas maids.
Yeah, teas maid, wake up, your tea's made, and there's a crying boy staring at you.
Nice. Welcome to 1985. That's the future.
Get on your Sinclair C5.
Yeah. Off to work. Do some cocaine after 5 minutes. Finance. Right. A similar series of crying. Yeah. So another artist.
I've been doing a lot more cocaine ever since we got all these crying boy pictures.
Yeah. Feeling weirdly perturbed all of a sudden for some reason.
Oh, my nerves are shot.
I can't put my finger on it. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, so apparently, this is a popular thing. Apparently, there's another artist who did a lot of these. In The Martians Have Landed, Robert Bartholomew and Benjamin Radford reported that many people wrote to other newspapers in response to the Sun's coverage, including one woman who couldn't think of a reason, this is in quote marks, think of a reason such a lovely picture could suddenly be thought to be jinxed. Again, what is wrong with these people? But yet she wanted to toss it for safety's sake. So despite skeptics' responses to the public's distress via interviews and open letters, the story held. A post on the website of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry says that the Sun added salient details, such as that the urgent was mistreated by the painter. So you're getting that bit.
I sent you a link so you can see a picture of what he looked like. And he does look, I don't want to, I'm not going to cast aspersions, but he does.
Case written all over it.
He does have a bit of a look of someone who likes crying boys. You see?
Yeah. Well, again, not to cast aspersions, he looks a bit like Stan Lee. I think it's the glasses.
Yeah, he doesn't have the tash.
No, he doesn't have the tash either.
But yeah, anyway.
Oh, no, don't get in the car with Uncle Giovanni. don't never you mind why. We don't get in the car with strangers, okay? Yeah, they said.
Yeah, you're an orphan.
Survived over 60 house fires. Yeah, anyway, so this is an article in Listverse, I think, that just basically expounds a little bit on this. So yeah, I think we're getting.
It's just such a weird
it is a really
subject matter. But such a weird subject matter to think, right, let's mass produce this. This is what everyone wants.
But again,
like, sort of horrible pictures of children crying. No, but I mean, this was sort of early 70s. You could have like done pictures of smiling boys or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice, view
flowers,
of the countryside. Yeah,
nice landscape.
Don't know really. Anyway, so when I went to the papers, thought it was a lovely picture, Chris. So there you go. But yeah, I wanted to toss it for safety's sake. So
I just wanted to give him a cuddle.
Well,
Make it all
some people
better.
think it's like, it's like that kind of thing. It's not.
Oh, let me wipe your tears away.
Yeah, something like that.
Stop crying, painting.
Don't worry, Pat.
Don't worry, Pat.
Come here.
Come here. A nice hot sweet cup
That's
of
the
tea.
thing. It's not going to stop crying, is it?
It's a fucking paint. It's a paint.
It's perpetually weeping.
Oh, you need some mothering, you do. I'm going to mother you until one of us is dead. Until you stop crying.
In between buying those.
Move, you're howling at the moon. It's a painting. You can't stop it crying. Oh, a mother's love can do anything. Right, I'm off down the pub then. All right, I'll just be here with our boy. He's a painting. He's our boy. Come in, let's watch a bit of EastEnders together.
Oh, look, there's a political broadcast. Let's see what that nice Mr. Enoch Powell's got to say for himself.
I'll probably just sleep in the bush again tonight, love. Oh, Daddy's a naughty man. He's going to sleep in the bush again tonight. You'll be all right with me, though. Stop your crying.
Right, anyway, so some of the salient details, such as the urchin was mistreated by the painter, we've gone through that, the explanation that these fires could be the child's curse, his way of getting revenge. I mean, it's a good bit of speculation, the Sun. According to Clark, the Sun was competing for...
Speculation or factulation?
Oh, yeah. Specufacts. That's got a fact. Warning, not strictly factual. Also guaranteed to contain 100% facts.
Not guaranteed to contain 100% facts, nor speculation.
According to Clark, the Sun was competing for readers with a Daily Mirror when the opportunity to develop the story arose and the internet further grew the tale. So it sounds like they were still sort of competing with the Mirror at that time, still building up their market share, as we speculated ourselves. So now we move on to Stephen Punt from Punt and Dennis. Remember him from the 90s?
Yeah, they weren't very good.
I quite like the Mary Whitehouse experience, but yeah, they weren't amazing necessarily.
No, well, not. Hey,
All
look,
right.
hey, look.
Hey,
It's all,
you know.
it's all subjective. I don't find Punter Dares particularly funny, but other people, but they did quite well. So
Yeah, did well themselves. Good luck to them. Seem like nice enough guys.
yeah.
I've not seen anything to the contrary, so apologies if there's been some kind of scandal.
Between recording this and it coming out.
Suddenly. Yeah. Like, what we're going to find out about. You've seen that whole Good Morning? I've never seen it, but
Philip Schofield
suddenly resigning and everyone's speculating. It's like, it's going to come out in the tabloids without him.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, no. Best not. So anyway, Steve Punt explored the legend on his radio show Punt PI. He attempted to track down the homes involved, found Jane McCutcheon, who had hung the print in the living room in the 80s. She was a mother of two. Was cleaning her kitchen when she found
mother of two paintings, brackets.
She found her handmade drapes, blinds, and curtains all suddenly ablaze. Her family escaped alive, but her home had been destroyed except for a single painting hung in the living room of the crying boy.
Do you think there's any chance that something like this happened once and then other people are just doing it as an insurance scam? Like, we'll get one of those paintings, torch the place because I'm insured up to our eyeballs, right? And everything we've got shit.
Yeah, but we've covered this before in a previous podcast, Chris. The loss adjusters will be all over you because they do not pay out for curses.
Ghosts.
Yeah, ghosts. Curses.
Yeah, true.
So that's the first thing they're going to do. You're like, no, we can't cover this.
Yeah,
supernatural causes. It's not an act of God.
it's the antithesis of an act of God.
So she later heard a firefighter who saw the painting say, "Oh no, not another." After what was described as a series of coincidences and bad luck, she speculated the painting was the cause and prompted her to get rid of it. So many of the fires had normal causes like cigarettes or unwieldy deep frying pans. And this is the thing you've got to remember about the 80s, everyone. Everyone smoked and everything was just
flammable.
Cigarettes.
Everything was flammable as well.
There was no fire retardant kind of material at the time and nobody gave a shit about safety.
And every single item of food was deep fat fried on an open flame.
Yeah. So we didn't have a deep fat fryer at home, but we just did a lot of fried food. But
just in a pan.
Yeah, just did it in a pan because we weren't fancy enough for deep fat fryers. But just everything was fried, kind of like So frying pan fires were a real issue. And just I remember like my granddad would fall asleep with a cigarette in his mouth. Just not a problem.
Cigarette in his mouth, brandy in hand.
Yeah, probably.
Next to the deep fat, we've just fried himself some chips.
That experimented teas made knockoff that was a deep fat fryer by the bed. Wake up to
donuts,
hot pocket or whatever. Deep fried bacon sarnie.
And just if you do have a chip pan fire, people remember, cover it with a wet cloth. Don't throw water on it because it will take your face off.
Yeah. Starve the oxygen from the fire. Don't pour a lot of water over it. Just make it
because the flame will go up. Little tip there. Don't say we don't do anything for you.
Go. Bit of fire safety. Make sure you have your fire safety training on Urbane Legends. We'll be talking about InfoSec next week. We'll talk about fishing with a PH.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have to start getting into GDPR.
Yeah. Where I work, we had to do all these. There's like a set of formulaic training videos, and it was all done. I think I've told you about this, Chris, but it was all done in the style of it's kind of like an American sitcom. So it was obviously an American film doing the training material, and it was like, actually, weirdly, there was an English woman who was like the sensible one who was telling people what to do, and then it was like a slouchy guy. But they're all in this American office, and it's all very friends, or whatever the equivalent, sort of, talking about the issue of the day. And the very bottom of the barrel, they were all fairly terrible, was a GDPR rap. That is exactly what it sounds like. I felt absolute shame and embarrassment for everyone involved. I mean, good luck to them. They're probably, trying to get a SAG card or whatever. But that was not worth the card, is it? Already knew about GDPR. Thank you. That's not how I wanted to. I'd literally rather read the fucking act itself.
Yeah. GDPR for people who aren't in Europe, I guess.
The general data protection regulations. Well, actually, I mean, it does affect if you're American anyway, because if you want to sell anything in Europe or, I mean, we've got an equivalence in law now under a parliamentary act. Then you have to abide by GDPR regulations.
I'm going to use one of my 2 official timeouts to say that I think that the podcast has taken too much of a left turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ, can we go back into We've actually now found the bottom of the barrel. We start talking about GDPR. Fuck's sake. Okay, let's swiftly move on. Okay, so Hunt bought one of these Crying Boy pictures. He was inexplicably delayed at his destination several times and began to feel a bit nervous about the possible curse. But what they did was they tested the fire retardancy by trying to set it alight with a construction researcher and found out that beyond the string that it hung from, it didn't really burn. So there's speculation that actually it may have had a fire retardant vanish. So one of the very few things in
the UK that was fire retardant.
This awful painting. And also because it was made out of like hard pack kind of wood. What they're calling it here, that again would have been very hard to actually get it to go up in flames. So it's just kind of naturally a bit fire retardant. And again, everyone was smoking and doing fried food in the 80s, so not that just a lot of fires. But yeah, quite possible it would have been in a house fire and actually looked relatively untouched. Might have got some scorch marks.
So really, what you wanted to do was make all your furniture out of Crying Boys.
Yeah, no, exactly. Build your house and all of your furniture out of Crying Boy paintings. That was what you should have done. How could you have known that? But this is why you got to test things. This is why you got to be scientific in your approach.
No, so we've done some tests on these Crying Boy paintings. Yes, they are terrifying, but they seem to be the only flame retardant things in the whole of the UK. So from now on, building regulations, houses must be built 98% of Crying Boys.
Sadly, that law got misinterpreted by some unscrupulous construction workers. Swiftly had to be reversed after public outcry.
Houses have to be built by Crying Boys. Perfect.
Finally, said Rees-Mogg. Right.
Yeah, one of those pieces of legislation which we left in the UAE and never got removed.
Thank God for the sunset clause. Such explanations would not have sufficed in 85. In the middle of the story's initial heyday, the Sun decided to take the legend further, requesting the public send their Crying Boy paintings to them to be destroyed. According to the Sun's editor, the office got swamped in Crying Boy pictures. But the editor refused to display the paintings in the office himself. Picture is a fire jinx, the paper reported. A week after its first article on the curse, the Sun published Crying Boy Curse Strikes Again. That was the one we already talked about. Yeah. Although the painting under the headline was a completely different picture of a crying boy. The story was very much the same. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So
any crying boy is a perfect catalyst. What we know. You need fuel, you need oxygen, and you need crying boy. Yeah. That's how you start fires. We know that.
Well, that's why crying boy stops fire.
That's why if you're out in the woodlands or whatever, you take your machete, you take some kindling, and you take a small picture of a small crying child in your wallet,
or a simile of same if you can't,
Yeah. And with that, you'll be good as gold.
Yeah, I remember that controversial episode with Ray Mears.
Bear Grylls. Yeah. Have you seen that he's
Bear Grylls just backhanding some 3 years?
Have you seen because his stars waned a little? He's
Everyone
now
just get bored of him.
Yeah, because he's a prick.
Yeah,
but now what he's doing is he's doing a little shifteroo.
Okay,
and he's trying to sort of muscle in and into the air to the Liver King. There's a guy called the Liver King who's really famous on the internet and like just eats raw liver and stuff and says it's like what humans are meant to eat.
Oh, right, like raw meat or whatever.
Yeah, and he's now trying to get a slice of that action. So he's like, I was a vegetarian for a bit, but now I just eat raw meat, and so he's trying to get himself back in the limelight by sort of shifting to the sort of pseudoscience nonsense diet scam stuff. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Well, good luck to him.
I think he's already selling like liver supplements and stuff.
I'm sure he is.
fucking grifter. He was always an independently wealthy posh boy anyway, wasn't he? The money.
I don't know.
I liked it when it came out that because I like Ray Mears. Ray Mears, people don't know.
I don't really know anything about Bear Grylls. He didn't strike me as particularly like a character.
Ray Mears is kind of like a survival expert, and he trained people in the SAS, and he would go out in all the environments and go.
He's very much about preserving the environment and ancient and old skills, isn't he? That's
but he kind of knows what he's doing, so he'll go right, and then you get like these leaves, and you knock them together, and you put that in the stream, and then he comes back in an hour, and he's got like a thing full of shrimp, and it's whereas Bear Grylls was more like, wham, bam, think about like, I'm in the middle of a desert, and if I want to survive, I've got to eat this scorpion, like that kind of.
It seems more sort of macho, kind of like what a hard case you are. Yeah,
stupid, flashy stuff. But he at the end of every day's shoot would be helicoptered off to a hotel.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Whereas he was always claiming he was out in the desert the whole time. Are you still there?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Whereas Ray Mears were like basically you could put Bear Grylls out into the middle of nowhere and he'd be like drinking his own piss and like eating snakes and making himself sick. And you put Ray Mears in the middle and he'll have like set himself up a little village and a nice takeaway and stuff within a couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of difference between them. One lives in the environment and one sort of tries to survive it.
Yeah, I mean, either or. It's kind of like, but the thing, I don't know. I never liked his presentation. Yeah, as you say, Bear Grylls' presentation stuff. Then I never really watched his stuff. So yeah,
a sensationalist.
Yeah, so that sort of came across. Whereas I think Ray Mears was kind of more sort of respectful of the environment and what have you all, which is good.
Yeah, thinking man's crumpet.
Indeed. So where do we get to? Okay, yeah, and so then they. The Legend of the Crying Boy survived into the internet age and even sparked fan clubs. So unfortunately, these all seem to have dissolved. So if you search for it online today, you'll sadly find the fan clubs have dissolved. Yet another victim of Facebook and all the rest.
Gap in the market.
Yeah, well, there you go. But evidence of existence in 2002 is preserved on artist and coder Mario Klingerman's former blog, where there were discussions of Crying Boy painting sales in a Holland-based club. So I think people, ironically, I
don't like the sound of this club.
Yeah.
It gives me the ick, I believe the kids would say these days.
It would be ick or possibly cringe or possibly have a combination of both.
No, the ick, not the cringe.
Crick.
Crick.
Yeah, he got into the legend through the art of Laura Kakua, who replaced the Crying Boy's eyes with red LEDs. For him, the painting's weirdness is the allure. The legend is a nice add-on. I think as a child, when we did holidays in Italy back in the 70s, I'd also seen these pictures of some street booths, and I guess I found them quite peculiar back then.
No shit.
Said Klingerman, who also created a Crying Boy tear generator.
Back in the good old days of Flash.
Yes. He's collected several of the paintings, occasionally fielding requests to sell or buy from enthusiasts. Despite his fascination with the story, he maintains he does not believe in the curse. So there you go. It's they got into the internet age and spawned a little bit of, there. So according to Gail Nina Anderson in her paper about art folklore, the Crying Boy legend grew quickly because everyone could participate. The paintings were cheap and easy to find. Became so widespread it grew to include all versions of similar paintings by various artists, including curse paintings and crying girls. So it looks like this has become a bit of a broader urban legend after the original 80s heyday. And then it wraps up.
It's a weird thing to collect.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if it's really cheap, it's one of those things where people, if you're in your 20s and got a bit of disposable income, then it's the sort of thing you'll ironically buy and then sort of figure out within 10 years. Bring someone round and say, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a joke. I'm looking forward to hearing this. This better be a good one. Yeah, actually, it's not actually particularly funny. Anyway, so here goes. And this is the sort of capper for it on the story here. So the Sun capped most of the hype of its legend in a 1985 article on Halloween with the headline "Crying Flame." There you go. This is another for those who are not familiar with our tabloid press. They love a pun. They'll spend just hours thinking about how you can,
For minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes, probably.
Seconds.
I mean, they're very bad, the puns.
Yeah.
They're not clever.
That's usually the first thing you could think of.
Yeah. So the Crying Flame instead of the Crying Game.
Crying Shame, yeah. Gracing the front page, the paper claimed to dissolve the curse once and for all with a massive bonfire burning sackfuls of paintings which were sent to them by the public in response to their call. The bonfire blazed near the River Thames, dissolving the curse into smoke. The Sun, ever looking for reliable sources, quoted a chaperone to the event, a fire officer, who said with relief, "I think there will be many people who can breathe a little easier now." I mean, talk about making your own news.
Yeah. I mean, a fire officer shortly before he was suspended.
Yeah. He fucking wants to be, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What have we considered that, you know,
A fire officer
supernatural cause of these?
A fire officer / occultist.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? It just puts me in mind as well. Do you ever hear of those during the 70s where all of those people were really anti-disco and they all went and had a massive fire in, I think it was in Wrigley Stadium.
Yes. Yeah, and it went
probably
absolutely
mad racists or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I've heard
disco, but I think it's,
they did an episode of that on the Dollop. It's it's funny. Yeah, it's like
just madness, yeah.
Yeah,
they were
like
offended by the Bee Gees and fucking like Chic.
And it was like they're the ones that did like 10-cent beer night and stuff, and it was just a fucking riot. And all. And so, like the guy who ran that team at the time, the sort of general owner, like had all these like wacky ideas of how to get people through the turnstiles and stuff. Yeah, it's very funny. But the thing is, like, it just ended up with like people flinging because. Like you had to have a record to get in or something, and they only had a certain amount that they could.
So everyone had to go and buy a load of disco records, presumably.
Yeah,
that's increasing sales.
No. Basically, they only had like I think it was they only had a certain amount that they could fit in the thing which they were going to blow up, this bin or the skip or whatever. Yeah. So people were just left with records and getting hammered and like doing drugs and stuff, and then they were just like fucking like. Chucking them at the baseball players and like whizzing by their heads, like during the match. So like they were like, it was absolutely terrifying because like people would get brained and stuff with like really heavy vinyl records being frisbeed at them from drunk people in the stands. Sounds good.
Blimey. So I don't know if all of that happened at the Suns fire of the Crying Children, but. If it wasn't inside a baseball stadium. Well, no, I think the fire probably did happen, but I think it was probably you know. Actually, and this was when Kelvin McKenzie, so notorious.
At least they burnt it by the cleansing waters of old Mother Thames.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
this is back when Kelvin McKenzie, who was in charge. Yeah, he was complete dickhead. There was a guy who was on the beat when they completely made up a story about Hillsborough fans. Being responsible for that tragedy. So fuck him.
So the curse is lifted.
Yeah, so the curse has now been lifted thanks to...
I'm surprised they didn't get like a pagan.
See the sore away, Sam. Karen Babb does it again for the working man and lady of Britain.
I'm surprised they didn't get like a pagan in or something.
I was going to say, I mean, they probably would have figured that was a bit too hippy dippy, but they should have got in sort of like some Wiccan or something to...
Yeah. What?
Lifted.
They got like the Archbishop of Canterbury. Okay, cool. So shall we go through
much it, to be honest with you? But it's a little bit of fun, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It was an interesting story. It was kind of, you know.
Do you know what? It's been a roller coaster of a story now for me.
Hasn't it? Yeah. You know, we've all learned a lot today. Not necessarily to our benefit, but
it's left me more upset than I was before we started. So that's really all you can ask for.
I always aim for that. So.
So Neil,
thank you for confirming that's worked out for me.
What do you reckon of spookiness?
Oh, I mean, having a crying boy painting in your living room is pretty fucking spooky. The 80s are pretty spooky.
70s and 80s,
yeah. It's
how flammable everything was.
Yeah, flammable everything was. I mean, it's not sort of the curse so much that it's spooky, but it's well, I mean, it is. I mean, the whole sort of legend of it that your house could burn.
I would hate to have any of these pictures in my house.
Yeah, I mean, taste has moved on. So
no, I don't mean like they would. Like I can imagine getting up like to go to the toilet in the night and seeing that picture in like the moonlight, and going, "Yeah, that's got to go." I'm taking it off the wall and turning it round. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think I've shared this story before, but it's like it was fashionable again back in sort of 70s, 80s, where you would have, because you couldn't show toilet rolls, spare toilet rolls, you couldn't have them anyway. So yeah, you'd have like something, or the one my nan had was like a flamenco dancer, which when I was about 5 terrified me, because I'd go to the toilet in the middle of the night and there's this thing staring. I had to turn it around so I used the toilet so it wasn't looking at me. It was yeah, very much that kind of thing. I don't remember.
Always been a shy boy.
Yeah.
I can't go if Maria's watching.
You can't watch, but you can listen, Maria. Not Conchita. It makes it even worse. Yeah. So all right, anyway, yeah. It's so speaking. Yeah, he's quite spooky. It's kind of like it's got a lot of elements. Sort of the curse burning. And to the credulous, the fact that the painting remained unchanged, because you hadn't really heard of anything fire retardant in those days. And, well, I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's kind of spooky. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think on top of everything you've said, the process and the artist, everything to which the painting was made, adds a layer of spookiness, because he's a spooky guy. Like, what's all this about?
Well, we don't. Yeah, I mean, the paintings themselves are really weird. We don't know about if any of those supposed facts of his life are in any way true.
No, but I mean, it is. But it's a fucking odd topic.
Yeah.
For you to decide as this is going to be my. It's going to be my thing, like sort of upset children. So on top of everything you said, I'm adding that, and I'm going to give it an 8 for spookiness, Neil.
Fair days.
Believability. So it looks like there's plenty of recorded stuff about these fires happening and there being these paintings around, and it sounds like there's a relatively confirmed scientific explanation for it. I think there were more fires in the old days than there are these days. I mean, you rarely see a fire these days, do you? But they used to, before bloody health and safety got involved. Used to be a lot more fires, didn't there?
I've had a fire in King's Cross for decades. What's going on?
Oh, thank you very much, Brussels. So, and do I believe that the people think there could be a curse? I think that some people do. I think that some people said they do because the son asked them to and offered them money. I don't know about the backstory and all that. I don't think that's true. And I don't think there is a curse, but this stuff did happen, so that raises it up. So I'm going to give it a 7 now.
Yeah, similar reasoning, Chris. So it's quite high for me as well, just because, I can imagine some people probably were taken in by it. It was in a national newspaper and they claimed that there was this curse. So, it's been given credence by the press. What do you think of that publication?
A lot.
the very greatest of us. You kind of, do we believe it? No. Would some people potentially have believed it? Yeah, possibly. But as I say, it wasn't. It was in the national press claiming that there was something here. It's interesting that you don't sort of see that kind of stuff anymore. But for the time, I'm going to give it a 7.
7 as well. So Neil, narrative premise.
Yeah, there's a fair bit here, because you've got. I mean, I think you could write quite an interesting. I think if you did like a modern day interpretation of this, you could do like. There's a lot of layers again to it. I think you've got the sort of they've got the press claiming this is true. You've got the backstory of the painter. Yeah, you've got the why the fuck is anyone hanging paintings of crying children in their house?
Why?
It's all and based on real things that happened. So that's really interesting. Is when you sort of look back on something that seems completely alien now. So yeah, I think you make.
But it was only 30 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that long ago, but we only remember selected parts of these periods. But so I think there's quite a rich lore here. You could do it. You can imagine doing something in sort of like different time periods, like the painter's life and the backing on what happened to the kid and all the rest of it. So I think there's a lot of facets to explore potentially. I'm going to give this one an 8. I think.
8. Yeah, do you know what? Like, I agree. Like you've got the whole artist backstory. You got the backstory of the children who were painted. You've got why are people buying these, the fires, all that kind of stuff. Plus, you could have kind of people who have discovered something and are trying to collect all the paintings because of some malevolent force and that kind of stuff. Don't know. You could add what you want to
Some
it.
Scully at the Sun. I can't
Yeah,
believe all
exactly.
of this, but then she's proven wrong. Time after time again, it happens.
Bloody women. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff. I mean, it's quite a funny story anyway, and you can add more to it. So I'll probably join you on an 8. Reach. So this is going to be the lowest, I think, because I've not heard of this. It sounds like for a brief spell, it was quite well known in the 80s. Well, that's probably only in the UK. Although the paintings were Europe-wide by the sounds of it, the kind of the myth around the flames and stuff seems to have been just kind of UK based.
And it got fashionable on the internet for around the aughts by the sound of it as well. A bit more Europe-wide.
So it's not massive, but I mean, it was in national newspapers and stuff, so it would have been more broadly known than, say, an internet thing would be known now, because the sort of circulation, I guess, of the readership of papers like The Sun and stuff. Like pretty much every household used to get a paper every day, didn't they, back in the 80s? So it would have been quite well known. So I'm going to give it a 4, I think, Neil.
Yeah, so again, it's probably the lower one for me as well, because I think it was probably more UK based, although, as I say, it sort of seemed to pick up a bit of kind of like cult following in the early aughts from some websites and stuff. That was probably more of a cultish thing. I'd never heard of it. I've never even heard of these paintings before, so that was all news to me. So yeah, I'm not sure it's sort of remained that much, except for in some circles. These things get preserved on the internet. So I'm going to give it a 4 as well, I think.
And that gives us an overall score of pretty decent 53.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Do you know what? That was actually better than I was expecting, with your kind of keeping expectations low at the start.
That's why you do a little dive down and then sort of like build it back up again.
That's exactly it. Promise, under promise, over perform.
Indeed.
That's it for this week. Neil, what are you going to have for your dinner tonight?
Oh, I think I've got a steak pie.
Steak pie. Like, I'm going to have mash with that, or chips, or rice.
Yeah, I think I'll probably go with some chips.
Okay, lovely. Steak pie and chips. Lovely. And so, we'll leave you with that information, dear listener. And thank you very much for listening again. And I hope you have a nice week. And we'll be back with our 100th fun episode this time next week. And thanks for listening. And take care. Goodbye.
And goodbye.
And server, USB, Wi-Fi, chip and pin, busy.